Report on this computer. I had to reduce my screen resolution from 4K down to 2K because even though this is a fairly substantial laptop, for some reason, the encoding on it sucks.
Oh, and the fan's probably running at like maximum too, right?
Oh my God, it's annoying. My camera moved. Why is my camera over there? It should be over here. It has to be right above the LG logo. Otherwise, it makes me insane. All right, so let's see what we got here. Chat. All right, and I'm going to put that in a notepad down on my lower screen so it doesn't look like I'm reading things. I'm organized. I mean, I am organized to a degree, but not just as organized as any other, not almost millennial, or horribly unorganized people these days and age.
It's okay. I'm pretty unorganized too. My desk, I'm not going to show you my desk.
Oh. There we go. Go over there. All right, so let's see here. Oh, now these things are out of frame. Ah, there, that looks good. The Mercku's. The M2. God, that really hurts your brain when you try to motor skill against your instincts.
All backwards mirrored. Yep.
Yeah, you see, that's what I'm talking about. See, that really messes up this thing. Okay, so let's see here. So yeah, we'll go over this list here. Feature sets, ISP feature sets, end user feature sets, end user functionality, cloud management for ISP, blah, blah, blah. And I had given you the ability to share your screen. So if either one of you guys want to share the screen once we get rolling, then give her.
Yeah, definitely. What we'll want to do is, so for the knock, we were thinking I'll just run a quick demo, right? Just actually show what it looks like in live environment, right? Highlight all the functions and stuff. And then Katrina would, I think, mirror the mobile app as well, right? So that way you can actually see how it looks like, how it works and everything. Does that work?
Yeah, that works great. And I've already done a teardown on one of these guys. They're actually quite substantial. So when comparing them to the Vilo, these ones are actually far more capable. Even these ones here are far more capable than the Vilo Mesh. These have some major limitations to them. They're both good products. I just think that they each have a place. Like I would recommend these to WISPs. If somebody is a fiber carrier or trying to do high capacity or, you know, gaming or anything, I would typically recommend these to them. But for the little old lady who just wants to go on and do her online banking and that sort of stuff, that's where these guys are okay. But so these are kind of like light, I guess you could say. They're a light product. And they're just brand new on the market, whereas these guys are far more substantial. Looking at the boards that you guys used inside of these things, they're sexy.
Happy to hear that.
I don't know how else to put it. Like, I mean, like usually when somebody picks up one of these things right off the hop, they'll feel the weight. And in some cases, manufacturers put like a weight in the bottom of them so that they sit better and they don't tip over with cords plugged into them. But this is like literally all of the guts, the CPU, the memory, everything that's in them. Like it's a substantial little thing. Like it definitely, it feels healthy, you know? And once you actually get inside and you see the antenna arrays and, oh, I was really happy to open one up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So it looks like the red dot people were right when they gave us the award.
Yeah.
Yes, well, you know, the tech nerds will always speak in strange ways, I've been told. So yeah, why don't you tell me a bit about the product?
So do you want to start with the M2 or should we focus more on M6, M6s, which are the
Let's talk about the M2 specifically at this moment.
Okay.
And then at the end of the video, towards the end, we can cut over and start discussing the new one that's coming up, because that I'm really excited about seeing that one too. So
for sure. So yeah, I guess I can give a quick intro on M2. So M2 is our Wi-Fi 5 flagship product. So it's a mesh solution, and it's an AC1200 dual band 2x2 mesh Wi-Fi solution, right? So the guy you have in your hands right now, it's called the Queen. So the Queen works as it's a 2-in-1 solution. So it's a control center and it's a mesh node. This covers about 2,500 to 3,000 square foot of open area, right? Give or take. And then yeah, so pretty much you can just hook these up and set up one of these. Yeah, and then the USB port on this one pretty much like helps you in charging and stuff, right? If you want to use that. Other than that, it has no use. But yeah, once you hook these up, you can just like set it up with a mobile app web portal. So that's what it comes with for the user side, right? Actually, all of our solutions do, right? So the users have the mobile app web portal to manage the product, monitor it, and change different settings and everything, right? And then on the operator side, this product is enabled with the TR69 platform, right? So the ISPs have their own ACS ACS platforms. They can definitely use the M2 with that for management purposes, or they can use our in-house built NOC system, which can also help them out in monitoring, management, troubleshooting, configuration, all those different things, right? The other part of this this solution is the B. So the B is the small guy. I'm not sure if you have it in hand. I don't think I have it either right now with me. I can look for it.
I don't
Katrina, do you
have
have
it
it?
either. Sorry.
Yeah, I might have one. I'll have to look it in my drawer. But yeah, so yeah, that's even better. Says just opening the website. So we'll just wait for that.
And this is a Canadian product too, isn't it?
Yeah, so we're a Canadian company. We started in 2017 in Waterloo, Canada, as a wireless connectivity and smart homes company, right? But we have a vast history in wireless connectivity, satellite space, and all those. So we have multiple co-founders, specifically four, but one of our main co-founders, Ehong, has actually a very extensive background in this space. So he actually began his career in RIM, which is the parent company of BlackBerry in Waterloo. And I think he was one of their pioneer employees, very early employees, I think like in 20s or something, right? And then he worked there for like 15 years. He was their lead engineer of antenna department, and then he became the director of RF systems. So while his time in BlackBerry, he invented a lot of products, a lot of different technologies. One of the main inventions was the modern cell phone antenna. So if you remember back in the day, when earlier, like we had first cell phones like Nokia's or Samsung's or Panasonic's, we had to pull the antennas out exactly, right? We don't have to do that anymore because now we have the internal antenna technology. And that's one of the main things he did when he was in BlackBerry. At that time, BlackBerry was just like uphill all the way, right? So, and he left BlackBerry in 2012, but he was able to take over some of the technologies, patents, right? And right now, Mercku has over 450 patents for different technologies. So then Ehong actually found four other companies. There's Link-E, General Test Systems. There's two more. I don't remember the names. Katrina might do. So those companies have are involved in creating like testing chambers, satellites, trackers for cars, other like software gaming platforms, things like that. So Mercku is the fifth venture of Ehong and his partners. It's like a baby to them. We're still working on it, right? We're growing. So we started as smart home wireless connectivity, and then what we figured was that Wi-Fi or wireless connectivity is the backbone of all the smart homes, right? It's like electricity to them, right? Like you cannot have an automatic home if you don't have a better Wi-Fi connection, if you have dead spots or poor connectivity, all those things are just gonna block your automized or smart home, right? So that's why we wanted to conquer that space. We came up with first solution that was M1. That was for a short while, but then we quickly transitioned to M2, which is our Wi-Fi 5 mesh solution we're looking at right now, right? And now we have also Wi-Fi 6 solutions. We're coming up with a lot of new products as well. So coming back to M2, so this is the B. So B is really cute. A lot of our partners, a lot of our customers, they just love the Bs, right? The portability, the way you can pretty much just you put them in a socket, right? That's it. It's like it's not there, right? But if it's there, it looks beautiful. It's not one of those things. Even the M2, like the designs of the product themselves are very progressive. They're like amazing. And these are not one of the routers you want to hide behind your curtains or behind your television or something, and you don't want your friends or guests to see, right? They don't have those long ears and everything. So they're just beautiful, right? So the B covers about 500 square foot of open area, right? And the beauty of this solution is its modularity. So basically, it has endless combinations, right? You can
Sorry,
have
one second, actually.
no problem.
Hello?
Hi, I'm from Amazon. I guess you have a return parcel for me.
Yeah, I do.
So I'm outside your place.
Oh, are you in front of 560 Weller?
Yep.
Okay, are you going to come to the door or stand in the street?
No, I'm coming. I just wanted to make sure.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Bye.
1 second. Of course, they come when I'm doing something.
In the meantime, I guess I'll connect my phone just so we don't have to wait for
Sure.
me to connect that later.
Yeah. I found the B.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, right here.
Nice.
Should I break it open?
Oh, it's really hard to break it
Yeah.
open.
I
Yeah.
am not a fan of Intelcom. They are a horrible delivery driver.
Oh,
Anyway,
no.
yeah, they make me very irritated. So anyway,
Mhm.
sorry, go on before I rudely interrupted you.
No, it's okay. Okay, so I actually got the physical B. I found it from my drawer right here, guys. So you can see, right? Well, I think
It's got
like
some
that.
kind of weird cloaking technology. Is this advanced alien tech?
I don't know about that, but this is how it is.
It's the invisibility cloak. That's what it is.
Wow, do you
Yeah,
know that is a
yeah.
really awesome feature when you're trying to get it to integrate into a home because you just won't see it. It'll blend in with
Yeah.
the scenery.
That's what I said. You don't notice it when it's there. Okay, so yeah, this is the B, right? And I was talking about modularity. So that's one of the big things of M2, the modularity. So you can make endless combinations of M2 with queens and Bs, right? So it really depending on the unique structure of your home, right? You can have all the queens if you want. You can have like 6 queens together, even more. You can have like 1 queen and 6 Bs, 4 Bs, 3 Bs, whatever you want to do. Or you can have like 2 queens and 3 Bs, right? So, and then you can add them up, right? As you want. So it really depends how your home is designed, how many floors, bedrooms you have, what kind of construction it is, where do you want signals more or less to be. So you can just like pretty much get one of the Bs and plug it in the wall, or you just get another M2 queen and you can get it, right? Another thing I would like to mention about M2 is the LAN ports. So basically, even on the mesh node, the LAN ports are active. So even if you're like wirelessly mesh an M2, it's in your bedroom, and let's say you're a gamer, right? And you have like a PS5, a full big like 75-inch television with a foolproof sound system and soundproofing of walls, you can hardwire your PlayStation and TV with this M2 LAN port, even if it's wirelessly meshed, right? So this is something that's not offered a lot of solutions, right? So we want to make sure that this is not lost when you're using it as a mesh node. So definitely you can make it work if you want to do that.
Now, here's a question for you. When this
Yeah.
is in mesh mode and this is bridged, are both the ports available or just the LAN port?
That would be a question I think Kat can answer.
Yeah, so for that one, I believe both would still be working in bridge mode.
That is wonderful because that's 2 ports is perfect. You install this in the living room behind the TV. You've got this one wherever your fiber modem is. And now you're going to hook this up to your TV or stereo, and then you can hook up the other one to whatever, the game console.
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
awesome. Now with the B, is the B dual band or is it only 2.4?
It's dual band as well.
Really? It's that tiny and it's
Yeah.
dual band.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool.
It is dual band. It's pretty much like it offers you all the things, because eventually you're controlling the network from the main unit, right? So whatever settings from the mobile app or web portal or the NOC, right, you're doing on the main queen that's working as a control center, it's gonna change the settings on the B, on queen, whatever's working as a mesh node, right? But yeah, it works on both bands, provide the same speeds and everything. So it's not like if you have a B, you're gonna have lesser speeds as compared to a queen. Queen definitely has better performance, right? But when you talk about like maximizing your network's performance, right, like range or speed, you're like overloading it, you might see a slight difference. But on a regular user, like 98% of homes, right, are not doing that. So pretty much you're not going to see a big difference.
Okay. So now, what kind of features do these guys actually offer? And like, let's outline all the really cool things that these guys do, because we already know that these are high capacity 5 gigahertz, 2.4 gigahertz wireless mesh APs, which can also be hardwired too. So like, they work great. Each one of these can be used as an independent router. So if you're a WISP and you can buy these in 3-packs and then break them up into individuals for regular installs. And then later on, Mrs. Kathy Flanagan or whoever says, oh, the coverage at the back of the house isn't great. Can you send over a tech? Yeah, no problem. They go and break up a 3-pack, grab one, take it over to the house, sync it to the ones that are in there. And I believe that right out of the box, when you buy these in a 3-pack, they're already synced with each other, ready to mesh. So, I mean, like, there's been a lot of thought put into the process and everything about these guys. So they're very cool. But like, what kind of cool features do these guys have other than the Wi-Fi, the high capability Wi-Fi?
Would now be a good time to, I guess, walk through the app to give you a little visual of what kind of features you can control?
Yeah, if you want to bring up the app as a,
Okay. Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Let me just share from my phone. I joined here separately just in preparation. Okay, so that's my dog, but
She's so fluffy.
he is. He's a little fluffy one. Okay. So this is what the app looks like. Right now, I'm actually connected to the M6, not the M2, but overall, they share almost the exact same features. The M2 has a lot. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. I would assume that it's like when you look at MikroTik products, like MikroTiks, they're all different hardware, but the interfacing is almost identical on all of them.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the same here for the M2 as well. So I guess I'll start from
I don't want to interrupt, but just to mention what Sarah was saying about MikroTik. So that's actually, we have intentionally done this for all the routers and our devices. The reason is one app or one app account can have multiple sub accounts, right? So for example, you have a Mercku network in your home, then you have in your cottage or office, right? So you don't have to set it up with a different account. You just have sub accounts with them. And then if you have like a network with M6, M6A, M2, or any other coming up routers, they share the same interface and same main account, right? So just to make it easier from the user's perspective and the experience.
Yeah, exactly. So I brought it up on the screen, actually. It's hard for you both to tell, but I do have 3 different networks or different systems actually connected. So my unit 0 is my M6 network, my unit 13 is the M6A network, and then the unit 2 is the M2 network. So I can control all of those through the app, even when I'm away from home and not connected to the network. But if we start from the top, so we do have, as Jay mentioned, the ability to add, it's a bit of a lag there, but we have the ability to add a new device and bind it to the account. But from the app as well, we're able to mesh the nodes together. With the M2, the only way to mesh the nodes, like if they're from separate hits, is to do it through the app or through the web portal. But with the M6 and the M6A, we do have a connect button, but we also give customers the option to do it through the app as well. So that's all done through here. If we go back to the home page, this first box section there, we can also run in-app speed tests. I won't do that now, but here you can also look at the historical results of past speed tests that customers have done through the app, which is really good to kind of gauge, how the traffic is at certain times of the day, which is really good. And so we also have a network diagnosis feature right here, the middle left. And it pretty much just gives like an overall status of how the network's performing, gives any recommendations for setting changes based on the current network performance, gives the latency and the download speeds as well. I'll let that finish up.
Neat.
Yeah.
This is very cool. So what do you do with the company, Katrina?
Oh, I didn't introduce myself. I'm so sorry. I'm actually the marketing and customer experience manager here. So I'm very familiar with the products. I do a lot of training sessions with Jay, with our ISP customers. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Well, the download didn't work right now. Probably not sure why, but if we go back to the home screen, you can actually see also a list of the devices that are connected to the network. So it shows here at the top, like you can see what's connected also as a guest. So I can show that to you guys a bit later, but we also have guest Wi-Fi connection, and we can also show like historically what other devices have been connected to the network in case, you know, you kind of want to manage that a little bit more. And then if we go back to the devices list, like for my phone, for example, if I click into there, I can actually, you know, change the name of my device. And then from here, I can access all the parental control settings. So it
Ooh,
can
and
be
that's
rate
cool.
limiting. Yeah, it can be rate limiting, you know, time limiting throughout like hours throughout the day. You can do website block lists. Of course, we can't block Google or like a lot of those search engines, but for, you know, if you don't want your kids to access Facebook at certain times of the day, you know, you can set that up as well. And then it also has throughput information. And if this is an unknown device on the network, you can actually immediately like add it to the block list. So it blocks based on the MAC address, which is the bottom button of the red button there. It also gives, if we go to device information, it also provides the connection type, you know, whether or not the device is connected to the 5 gigahertz or 2.4 gigahertz band. It'll tell you which node it's actually connected to. So currently it's connected to my gateway. But if it's connected to the mesh node, for example, it'll show, you know, the name of the SS or the name of the mesh node, how long it's been connected, the MAC address, as well as the IP address. So you can see this for all the devices that are connected to the network. Yeah.
This is really cool. So with the rate limiting, we can actually say to, you know, mom and dad are working from home because everybody works from home nowadays. You can set it up so you've got rate limiting during the day so that specific devices can only use a percentage per se, hypothetically speaking,
Exactly.
a percentage of the connection, allowing mom and dad to continue on doing their Zoom videos, or maybe dad's a streaming gamer or whatever like that, not be affected while the kids are doing their thing.
Exactly. And the best thing about the app too is that even though you're not at home, you can also still access these parental control features. You know, if your kids, you're just worried about your kids, you go on vacation, you're just like, I don't want them to be on YouTube so much. I'm gonna reduce their rate limit, not use up so much bandwidth, you know. So it's the great thing about the app.
And then of course there's the, oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
There's also the time on there, which is that, can you go back to the screen for a second?
Yeah.
That's really handy. So we've got the parental control with the time on it. So we can see that the kids are basically knocked off at bedtime.
Exactly.
Okay, that's another really handy feature. And what was the other one on there?
The
Oh, the websites.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can block. Now, can you do that based on groupings? Say certain devices are not allowed to access certain sites?
That's something that our development team is currently working on, actually. We've gotten that request quite a bit. But as of right now, we don't quite have that yet.
Because that'd be handy. And that can easily be done by Mac ACL in the back end. So like as an example, just based on what I see with hotspots as an example, is kid's tablet, kid's cell phone, all those devices are connected. You see them in the device list and you can add them to a group. Say, this is Jennifer's iPhone, Jennifer's tablet. This is Tommy's iPhone. This is Tommy's Xbox. You put all those into a specific ACL by clicking add, and it'll be like kids. And you can then have your time limits on those guys. You can have your website restrictions on those guys. That'd be perfect because like then you can like, and actually having a preset list as well where you can have like block adult content. So like a little checkbox, and I'll block any listed adult sites that are R-rated or you know, pornography sites and things like that. That'd be a really handy thing as well to have on there, because just instead of the parent having to go on there and say add RedTube or Pornhub or Xhamster or dirtymama.com or whatever to all those sites. If you don't even know these porn sites because you're not a degenerate, then having that option to click on block adult sites would be pretty handy to have in there.
Oh yeah, definitely. And oops.
This is cool.
Yeah, and before we get to the actual like deep dive into the actual settings that you're able to manage, I'll just go quickly into like looking into the mesh node information. So it's the green button there. So from here, you can actually see like the serial number of the actual mesh node that we're talking about, you know, what model it is, what firmware version it's on, MAC addresses, as well as the IP address. And we can also remotely reboot the entire system, or if you really have to, also do a quick factory reset of the system as well. So we can do that from here. And then you can also rename, you know, the device. We have a list of preset different names if people want to name it differently. So that's available. And then also from this screen, you can go back essentially to the list of devices that are currently connected to this node in particular. So that's a little bit about the mesh nodes. And like right on the home page as well, you know, there's like a little legend there kind of showing if it's a good connection, then the connection line will show up as green. But if the mesh node connection between them is weaker, it'll show up as orange. And then if it's completely offline, it'll just show up as gray, pretty much. We can talk about it later, but we have like a threshold based on, you know, the RSSI values between the mesh nodes. But that's essentially visually depicted for the not so tech savvy user in the app in terms of colors.
Okay, and actually what I should interject as well is that these guys not only mesh on 5 gig, which gives you your high throughput, your high capability meshing, but 5 gig does have some limitations. Like if you've got like an older home that's literally a Faraday cage that's got a steel mesh in the walls, which why would they do that in the first place? It's maddening. But one of the ways that you can get around that, of course, is you guys have a mesh enhancement, which does decrease the throughput capability of these devices, but shift it from trunking on 5 to trunking on 2.4 so that it gets better penetration, better range.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, as you mentioned, like for the M2 system specifically, we have a setting called increased mesh coverage, essentially, which does all the backhauling on the 2.4 gigahertz band to exactly like just prevent, you know, like increase the range essentially in case of those really metal, very concrete houses, especially in condos and such. So it's a little bit different for the M6, but we can talk about that a bit later. And then in terms of settings, it was on actually a lot of these feature sets are on the list that you sent over to Jay. But some of the settings that we do have available are, you know, Smart Connect, you know, combining the 2.4 and the 5 gigahertz band into a single SSID. We can enable that or disable that, and also rename each of the different SSIDs as well. You know, you can update the encryption, Wi-Fi password, and you can also hide the SSID there as well. And if you select more, this is where you can access a lot of the channel, like manual channel switching settings. So by default, our systems are on channel 11 for the 2.4 gigahertz band and channel 40 for the 5 gigahertz band. But if you do turn on automatic channel switching, then it'll just, you know, automatically change the channels based on what the neighbors' networks, like which ones are more flooded than the others. And you can also change the bandwidth as well, up to 80 megahertz on the 5 gigahertz band. And of course, the higher the bandwidth, the more risk of, you know, overlapping with neighboring networks. So that's always kind of something that people want to manage for the more tech savvy router people. But for, you know, mom and dad, well, my mom and dad at least, I would just set them to automatic channel switching for sure. And then, yep.
Sorry, the default now. So you've got 5 gigahertz channel with 80. What does it come stock? Does it come at 40?
It's automatic at 80 for the 5 gigahertz band, and then 2.4 for the 40 megahertz band.
Oh.
Or sorry, gigahertz band, yeah.
Just a little suggestion there is that one of the things that drive a lot of WISP operators nuts is especially when like Bell or Rogers or Frontier come in and they install their routers and they're all 80 megahertz right off the hop. So that can actually wipe out the spectrum for other devices like, you know, CPE radios, like for Mimosa, Cambium, you know, Ubiquity in that, right? So if there's a way that these things could ship at 40, that'd be a pretty handy little thing for the WISPs, especially because then it's not blotting out the entire spectrum.
Yeah, no, that's some really good feedback. I'll bring this back to the tech team because we did actually add upon setup, we recently added the Smart Connect toggle when you're first setting up the network, which was requested a lot because a lot of people actually really don't like Smart Connect.
Mhm.
So that's definitely something we can look to adding, or just automatically putting at 40 megahertz for sure.
When what's the Wi-Fi 5 thing that was on that page?
Oh, yes. So for the M6 and the M6A specifically, we have a toggle for Wi-Fi 5 compatibility, just in case it essentially turns off the Wi-Fi 6 features for, legacy devices, because sometimes for some reason they just can't see the Wi-Fi 6 network or just the network at all, even though it is backwards compatible. So we've enabled this feature just to mitigate that risk.
Okay.
And then back to the settings. So under network settings, we're IPv6 compatible for both the M2 and the M6 units.
Cool.
So you can set that up. I don't have mine set up. And then you can access the internet settings as well. Oh,
Yeah, a lot of us don't talk about IPv6. We just don't talk about IPv6.
yeah, we should more, honestly, because there's so many IoT devices on the same network. It's just much easier that way.
This is true.
So for the internet settings, we can set up PPPoE. So for those ISPs that require this, they can just have the customer or log in the customer's username and password over here. And then we can also set up, a static IP address as well.
And to the PPPoE guys out there, you know who you are. Why are you still using PPPoE? Why?
Reminds me of being back in, using like college or university internet. That just brings me back.
It hurts.
It does. And then we also have, DNS settings. You can set it to automatic or manual. And then advanced settings, you have that enabled there as well.
Oh, cool. So like, let's say that your upstream provider uses VLAN 27, and that's where their PPPoE and stuff happens. You can put that in there, and you can actually eliminate having to have their silly router that they provide to you, because the router that they provided to you is a piece of garbage, and you'd rather use this wonderful Mercku.
Yeah, exactly. This was actually requested quite a bit. So we added this feature within the last 6 months or so, right, Jay? Yeah.
Yeah, it has been requested since the last year a couple times. So we thought definitely that's one of the other things we do. So we're really ISP focused and WISP focused, right, company. So that's what it is. When they request us for some features which are really useful for them or even other ISPs in the market, right? So we really take that feedback and we just kind of don't tell them that we're going to take it back and then just don't do it. We actually do that, and then obviously our development team has to do some analysis to see if it's compatible with the current chipset, the software in the backend and everything, right? If it is, then it's 98% or 95% prioritized based on the different things in the backlog, right? But it is added at some point, right? Depending on how VLAN feature was important, it took quite some time to build, but this was on high priority for the last few months. So now it's available from the last, I think 2 months ago, we added this, yeah. So there's a lot more things that we added, like channel selection, channel width management is also pure on demand of one of our partners. So a lot of features that you would see is built on the demands of our partners.
And that's cool. The fact that you guys listen to the community is a very, very important thing.
Oh yeah, of course. They make our products much, much better.
Mm-hmm.
And then for VPN settings, you can protect the entire network, have everything on the network, essentially automatically connected to the VPN if you do have it. We support L2TP and PPTP, as well as OpenVPN protocols for now. But we're, again, a lot of our clients are telling us, why aren't you supporting this kind of protocol for VPN? We actually added OpenVPN just last year as well, after many, many requests from our customers. So
I think you're going to have a lot of IT people that are, requesting odd things which are not commonplace. But the whole idea of a product like this is it's supposed to encompass all the commonplace features and not necessarily every single thing.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, PPTP is still around because it's like the base VPN. It just works. L2TP is far more secure as it also supports IPsec. And OpenVPN is nightmarishly secure. I mean, obviously there's ways to break it, but if you set it up properly, it's an abomination against God's law when it comes to trying to like break into it. Now, the other thing as well is what about specifically supporting VPN services, like say supporting Nord, or what's one of the other ones that they shove down your throat when you're on YouTube, you know, like, see, because what I've noticed is that if you're going to have a VPN, like if you're going to funnel all of your traffic through a VPN, a lot of these services don't necessarily set up easily with standard protocols. Many of them use apps. So if there's an API integration with this where you can specifically choose Nord and then Nord credentials and that sort of stuff on here, that would alleviate a lot of issues where people are trying to connect it to the common big VPN bypass providers. But that's just my 2 cents. I mean, like the other thing as well is, I mean, like if you're going to start doing things where you need a dial-in VPN where, oh, you know, dad's gone to Florida and, you know, he wants to like access this up here in Canada. And it's just like, well, then why would you buy a Soho router? In that case there, the individual clearly needs something ridiculous like a Draytech or maybe a Microtech or something that's the, you know, commercial grade. This is basically high level consumer grade. This is for like advanced, awesome Wi-Fi and meshing features for the home user. It's not for the IT person per se.
Yeah, definitely. I know well, Jay probably actually knows more about like conversations with VPN providers themselves, right?
Yeah, like in terms of what Sarah's saying, we had demands for like these kinds of like OpenVPN or L2TP in the past, but what you just mentioned is actually that's the first time. So to be honest, yeah. So I mean, no one has requested that kind of thing until now, right? So, but I think we can explore that option in more detail and see if that is something that
I
we
think
could
that would
do as
make more
well.
sense, actually. Sorry, I just realized that my mic was panned all the way in one direction. I just fixed that. But I think that would make more sense because to the average person, like, you know, the average person, like our parents or whatever, right? They're not going to be like super techie and they're not going to try to, if they wanted to use a VPN because let's say that they're paranoid and they believe that the government's watching them, which if you're in the United States, the government is always watching you. That's look up Talia. But I mean, anywhere else in the world where you live in a reasonable country, I mean, like the government's not watching you. Chances are your ISP does not care. So you don't necessarily need a VPN to bypass things. And if you're high enough level that you need to connect this to a remote network so that you're part of your office network, then this isn't the right product. You should be using something that's far more customizable, like again, a Microtech router, maybe like a Fortinet or a Cisco or something like that. That's a different product tier. But for the average home user, they're going to be the ones that like gamers or, you know, dad's got a shed with a pegboard and pictures with red string all over the place on it. And he wants to hide himself through Tor or whatever. He's going to want to use like Nord or something like that. One of the common VPN providers that they see out there. So rather than just having support for L2TP, PPTP and OpenVPN, literally looking up who the common commercial VPN providers are and just having like a checkbox where you can put in credentials for that one will make it so much simpler for these guys to set up to use something like NordVPN or whatever, right? This video is not sponsored by NordVPN. They're just so shoved down your friggin' throat that I know about them. That's it.
You're just bombarded with
to
ads,
ask
that's why.
This is a Mercku sponsored video.
That's really great feedback. Thank you, Sarah. I guess to continue on, I actually didn't realize we have a search function as well. This was recently added, I think, in the most recent firmware or app version, but you can now search for different Wi-Fi settings. So you don't have to like scroll through every single section as well.
Ooh, look up that. Can you, so if somebody wants to do a port forward, because, oh my God, everybody and their cousin has a Plex server. And I mean, I'd like to thank my friends who have given me access to their Plex collections. But I mean, like, when you're in my world, everybody's like, hey, have you got access to my Plex? Do you want to access my Plex? Hey, I've got a Plex server too. And it's just, it gets kind of obnoxious. But so for a lot of these guys who have Plex, they have to do specific port forwards. Now, I'm assuming this does support UPnP, does it not?
Yes, we do.
But then when it comes to somebody wanting, because like they don't need anything complicated, they don't need a Microtech, they don't need a Cisco, but they want to have their stupid security cameras or Plex server out on the internet. So they need to be able to go in the firewall and set some port forwarding rules.
Yeah. Perfect. I searched NAT, but it did not come up. So it's probably under one of the other settings.
It might be under router.
Router.
This is such a wonderful cider. It's called Temp 9. It's strawberry
Oh.
and lime.
I've had that one. It's so yummy. It's
Mhm.
I love strawberry flavored drinks. Amazing. So I guess going back down the list, as I mentioned earlier, we do have access for, small cafes or small businesses to also set up a guest Wi-Fi network, which is really good.
That's
And
perfect
then-
because most cafes,
Mhm.
bakeries, coffee shops, they don't need a Cisco or Juniper or Fortinet or anything. This is perfect. This will run their POS. This will run their cameras. And then since you've got the guest on here, yeah, it's just like, oh, now the patrons have access through that.
Exactly. And then you can also see, like, I don't know if you remember earlier, but under the device list, there's a whole separate section to see which devices are actually connected on the guest network versus the actual secured main network, which is really great. And then under router settings, we have the ability to schedule the LED to turn on and off. Some people have complained that the green on the M2 is a little bit too bright at night, if they're keeping it in their bedrooms. So we have the ability to turn that on and off now.
That's right. Keep your router in the bedroom.
Right.
I don't know.
Especially with the M6 and the M2, like there's a really bright, long white LED light. And I think that one for sure is extremely bright. So we've added that feature now to turn that on and off. We also have a Wi-Fi on and off feature as well. So I guess separate from the actual parental control where it schedules the time for access for that specific device, we can do that for the entire network as well.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
then-
if I'm going to turn that off, I'm just going to turn it off, to be honest.
And then we also, this is just under router admin password. This is just the place where you can update your admin credentials. And then under the block list section as well, you can see a list of all the devices that have been blocked from the network. And essentially, this is where you can unblock them. We've done quite a few ISP trainings in person, and a lot of their teams had a lot of fun, testing out the device in the open network and blocking each other's devices. So this is the area where you actually just unblock all the devices from the network. And then you can also set up, your specific country and region. I know a lot of different countries only allow for certain uses of channels. So this is pretty much to specify which channels that you are able to access and change your networks to use.
Okay, now there are two separate functionality types for these guys too. Like there is a end user functionality, which you can like very much limit to just SSID and password essentially, and the basics of access and whatnot. But then there's also the ISP feature sets. So with these guys here, so we've already established what kind of Wi-Fi they've got. Let's see here, firewall functionality. Go back to setting. We didn't really find the firewall stuff because the country stuff, that's pretty standard. Let's go to advanced settings for a second and see if it's got a little. There's the port forwarding.
There's all this stuff.
There is the UPnP, the port forwarding, DMZ host, which they'll sometimes put their Plex servers as DMZ host. Okay, so that's where all that is. Awesome. And there's the increased mesh coverage. So when that switch is flicked on, it's 2.45 gig for the mesh, which
Exactly.
something to note because I was frustrated when I first hooked these up. I'm like, I'm only getting like 60 megs. Why am I only getting 60 megs for my mesh? And it's just like, and Jay told me, and he's just like, oh, I'm like, oh. So
there we go.
Yeah, but that's for M2. For M6 and forward, it's actually, it enhances the signal power of the 5G. So it enhances the transmit power. So you still stay on the same band, but the signal power is enhanced, so you can get better coverage. On M2, it moves to the 2.4 link.
Okay, and this is a M6 we're looking at, right?
This one, yes.
I guess, yeah.
I'm looking at the bottom here. When increased mesh coverage is enabled, your mesh system will communicate within the network using the 2.4 gig band.
We'll need to update this then. Thanks for catching that. Also at the top, you can also access the bridge mode features here as well under the advanced settings.
Yes,
But
for
yeah.
somebody like me, I would run it in mesh mode, of course, or sorry, bridge
Yeah.
mode.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so all the advanced settings are here primarily for the ISPs. In terms of notifications for the end user, you can receive a notification when there's a new device that actually connects to the network. It's a little bit of a security feature just to make sure no one suspicious is connecting, somehow found your password connected to your network. And then in terms of upgrading the firmware, it'll let you know if your firmware is on the most up-to-date version, but you can also set it to automatically upgrade. And this goes for both the M2 and the M6. Yeah, so that's pretty much a rundown of the app, showcasing a lot of our features. I don't know, Jay, if you want to go more
Didn't
into
you show her? You don't want
I
to show
wanna
her the
see
dark
that, yeah.
mode of the app?
I want to
Oh.
see the ISP features and stuff. Because we've covered
One-
all the basics of the stuff that's usually in there. And something which I should note is I did say that these may not be appropriate for like a high level IT person or somebody who requires specific services. But you know what? I should mention, now that I'm reminded that these things have a bridge mode, was that I myself use a MikroTik 4011 for my home router because I do a lot of complicated technical things, especially in the lab here, right? Which, as you can see, is annihilated right now because I'm defluffing. So I'm going through all the bins and throwing everything in the garbage that I don't need, which is such a painful, horrible thing to do, but I'm forcing myself. But when you put these things into bridge mode, of course, then you can use your MikroTik home router and just use these as a mesh Wi-Fi network, like as APs throughout your house and bridges to connect devices physically. And in fact, my business partner, Thomas, when we had these things in operation for our testing purposes for preliminary, I had one here, one in this room, and I had one in the far back, and then he had one up in the laboratory. And what he actually did was the strength was so strong that he was able to actually connect from here into his lab switch and tie it into the rest of the home network. So that worked out extremely well. They're great, and that's without putting these in router mode. They were literally bridges, which let me use my router to do my router thing. Now, as far as the brightness of the LED, okay, so the LED brightness may be a little bit. It's is this supposed to be that bright?
It is. It's quite bright.
I'll just unplug that. I see why you guys have the turn off feature on it, right?
Yeah, we do.
Cool. So you can read by it.
Exactly. A little nightlight.
I'm just kidding. I have one of my.
Yeah, no, that's right. Definitely. I mean, a lot of our users or their like end users are using them for like, a lot of people are working from home. They're doing a lot of technical stuff, right? Even the high streamers or gamers, they are definitely using these devices. And that's like what we're focusing on. It is targeting pretty much every kind of like home consumer, right? Where they have like nominal regular use, but if they want to move to more high intensive use, we have those features. Our chipset, the way product is designed, the antennas are placed and designed, support that kind of requirement. And then as well as then we are adding more features. The other thing is we can do custom firmwares with our partners, right? So a lot of partners have customized firmwares based on the different settings, firewalls, basic stuff that they need right away, right? So they're not using Mercku standard, but they're actually doing full custom firmware. So based on their users or their user requirements.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's actually part of our like full end-to-end customization that we offer. So you can pretty much customize our products to anything. Like you can change the packaging, hardware, color, logos, labels. We can do like full custom mobile apps, web portal. So pretty much, for example, some of our customers have like their own mobile app, which their customers download from App Store, right? And they have their own customized firmwares. They have their customized web portals, packaging, everything. So it's not technically, let's say, a Mercku product for them, for their customers. It's for Orion, or it's for RealNet, or it's for other companies that they're working with, like for their users.
So essentially, these things are fully white label ready. So like if let's just say that hypothetically New Leaf's high speed wanted to deploy these, but they wanted to customize them because New Leaf is bougie and they've got lots of money to waste on things. So New Leaf says, hey, we want our logo and our company name in the app. We want our logo and company name in the software for this device. We want it to be set up so when people log into this, they see our company. So you guys are fully capable of doing that.
100%. That's one of our key things. And not just end-to-end, you can have even pick and choose. So if someone just wants to do packaging, that's fine. If someone just wants to do custom firmware, that's okay too. If someone just wants to do mobile app, that's fine too. And then we don't have like, you don't have to, obviously there are certain MOQs, right, that we have to have justify our development costs and everything, but they're not like tens of thousands of units like normally a lot of companies would ask for like white labeling or like fully customizing anything, right? They're like very attainable even for like small to medium sized companies. And then for the large ones, it's never a problem, of course, right? So starting with very like nominal numbers, quantities, you can get all those end-to-end customized things. And then even if they're like, for example, if there are lower volumes, we can still do that. We just pass on the tooling costs or things that are associated that we have to pay for customizing their product. And we don't make a markup on that. We pretty much just pass it on to our partners, whatever it is.
Yeah. Just to show you an example of like what we can do for white labeling. This is one of our partners out in Serbia. So they have a completely white labeled, packaging here according to their own.
That looks cool.
Yeah, super cool. The colors are really cool. And then you can't really see in the picture, but it is the black M6. Like we can also change that. Like we have a client that wanted a white version of the M2, so we could do that as well. But we have like an imprint of their actual brand name here on top of the unit as well. So we're able to do that too.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's just a quick example.
Well, that's very cool. That's actually exciting. Oh, and actually I should ask, internally, is that USB port just for power or does it also have data pins that connect back to the SOC?
Sorry, it's just for power actually right now. Yeah.
Oh, but is it connected? Does it still have the data pairs connected back to the SOC or?
I don't think so. It does that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now let's take a quick peek at the ISP portal because I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of people wondering about that.
For sure. So just give me 1 second. That's what I was actually trying to do. I'm just going to pull it up, login.
Sure.
I can share it. I have it open if you want to.
And I guess actually we've been covering a lot of the M2 and the 6 series as well throughout the whole video. So that's good to cover. That's good. I can't wait to actually, I'm going to get a set of the 6s as well to try out because they're newer. They've got like Wi-Fi 6, just, and since, I'm one of these people who has one of these things. So it's like, Wi-Fi 6 is definitely beneficial for somebody like me.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So you can see my screen, right?
Yep.
Perfect. So this is the portal right here. As you so once we log in, so it's called the NOC. So NOC is basically Networks Operations Center. This is our in-house built proprietary solution for remote management, monitoring, network diagnosis, configuration, and everything, right? Essentially, this is something in place of a legacy TR69 ACS platform. This is built on MQTT. So MQTT is much easier. It's more flexible when it comes to customization. More products as they are getting launched, more newer IoT technologies are more compatible with MQTT as well. And then it's just cheaper in cost overall, right? It's easier to manage it, modify in the back end, add a lot of new features and stuff, right? And then the overall data updation and processing times are much faster than like legacy TR69 platforms. So for multiple reasons, we chose MQTT platform to build our NOC platform on, right? It's more future proof and everything. So how it works is basically, this is the one we're looking at right now. It's actually a live test version. And then what happens is if one of the ISPs or partners want to test it out, we can set them up with a trial account for a few days or weeks, and they can test out the portal. So once that is done, if they want to move forward, we can set up a dedicated portal for them where they can only access their own customers who are added to the portal. And how the customers are added to the portal is basically right now what we're doing is, so we add the SN numbers in the back end to their portal, right? So for example, XYZ ISP bought 100 M6s, and now they want NOC as well. So we will add all those 100 M6s in the NOC in the backend. So now, whenever that one of that M6 is powered up, it's automatically gonna start showing in NOC. And then once it starts showing, the ISP can attach it to the customer in the small database center that we have in NOC, right? You can all their information, the address, phone number, email address, their name, and everything. So that's how they can do. Okay, so to start, so whenever you get into NOC, this will be the first screen you will see, which shows you the overall health or trend of the network. This probably is like one of the main or big screens in your service center or in your like owner's office or somewhere, right? So that's what you see. So here, this shows you the total number of devices that are connected, how many of them are online or offline in the particular time period, what kind of firmware is running on which kind of device. So you can select B, M6, M6A, and all newer devices will also come up here. So as we launch more products, for example, M6S, M6XL, everything will be compatible to NOC. And then you can just hover over and see how many devices are running on which firmware. This one shows you right here device statistics. So basically this is a pattern or trend of the number of different devices that are running on NOC. So M2Bs or M6As, right? You can see how many of those were active or connected to your network in a particular time period. You can go in details and filter them out by online, offline status, by day, week, month, year, even geographical location. So if you want to see, okay, in let's say British Columbia, okay, in Burnaby, how many devices are there? And you just search, and this is what you can see it right here. And then you can break it down by dates as well, date range, if you want to see that. You have a lot of different filter options as well. This one right here is for station brands. So it's really good from an ISP customer service perspective, because basically this one shows you what kind of brands are running on your network. So what kind of brands your customers are using, right? So you can see, for example, let's say, okay, 70% of your customers are using Apple devices, right? Now, you know, okay, 7 out of 10 calls are going to be recording like maybe a MacBook or an iPad or iPhone or something like that. And only 2% are using like Huawei or Xiaomi or something. So, you know, okay, you don't have to worry about that a lot, but you really have to worry about maybe Apple or Samsung or those kind of things. And you want to make sure that your staff is fully aware of different path flows and settings of those devices.
Well, especially with Apple. I mean, Apple's terrible, god awful, horrible.
Yeah, for sure. So this one right here shows you the statistics of households. This one was device statistics, and this one is household. So basically, what we define as household is a home where you can have either 1 or 10 devices. It's still counted as one household, right? So here you can see how many households are active or newly added on your network in a particular time period. The green one shows you the new ones, and the orange shows you the how many of them are active. So it shows you that trend. Again, you can break it down by different intervals, locations, and date ranges, or like past 7, 30, 60 days. So this was the first monitoring screen. The second one is for the traffic. So this one is the second screen that, again, in your service center, or like this the main floor kind of thing, right? Where now this one shows you the traffic trends. So the traffic trends you can see right here. If you hover over, you can see how much data is being uploaded, downloaded, or being pulled from your network in a particular time period, right? And then you again break it down by different intervals, like you could do the other ones, or geographical locations. And then this one breaks down, shows you the geographical distribution after deployment, right? So now let's say, okay, there's an ISP in like Toronto, right? And now they have customers in Mississauga, East York, Vaughan, Richmond Hill, Barrie, all those places, right? So they can just come right here and see, okay, how many customers I have in Toronto, how many customers I have in Mississauga, how many is in like Nova Scotia, Oshawa, whatever, right? And then this one actually breaks it down to the region. So for example, Canada, country, Ontario province, Toronto, city, right? And then again, city. So it breaks it down to the exact city where the devices are actually deployed. So we're like, you can see the saturation of your customers, where you have, maybe you can choose that to run more different campaigns and stuff, a lot of different things, right? And this one pretty much shows you the traffic ranking, mesh traffic ranking based on the throughput. So it's ranked from the highest throughput and then goes downtrend, right? And shows you the location as well. Let's move over. Okay, so actually I don't want to whole.
You can use mine, Jay. Just search up my
Yeah,
name.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I
Yeah, I
give
don't
you
want to make
permission.
their home network public, right? Which one should I use? You have like
The first one.
first one, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so Sarah, here's you can see this screen. So every user that's on like an ISP's network has this personal screen. So an ISP can come to the customer profile and every customer will have their own. So the one we saw before was for like a general whole network, right? This is for each customer. So this is what it's going to look like when you visit a customer profile. You will start with their basic information like name, address, location, phone number, their downloading, uploading. You can see their network mode, access type, CPU usage, RAM usage, uptime, stations, and how many stations are connected to which band. Are they wired or unwired? Which channels are they running on? What's the channel width? Everything. So it's right there, right? It's like a quick glance. You just open it and boom, you have all the information in front of you. And then this is bandwidth usage. So again, the one we saw before, traffic trend, was for the whole network. This is for Katrina's personal network. So we can see Katrina is like probably sleeping like at 21 hours and then she got up at like midnight or something. So we can see that, and then we can even break it down by day. So that's how I keep track, like if Katrina's working or not. But yeah, so this is the node list. So every customer, again, you can see how many nodes or devices are, so the mesh nodes, right? Or the stations, not end user, but like gateway or mesh point are on the user's profile. And you can see a list right here with their SN numbers, their roles, model, MAC, LAN, MAC ID, LAN, current firmware version, latest firmware version. And then you can do like a factory reset or reboot right here for each device separately. And then let's say if the firmware version, right now Katrina's on latest firmware, but if she wasn't, we could just click upgrade and we can just upgrade her firmware right away from here, right? And then this is a station list, so we can see how many devices Katrina has and what's their name, what's their MAC IP address, what's the RSSI value right now, or which band they're connected to, what's the negotiation rate, real-time traffic, throughput, uptime, and then parental controls. So we can do it all from here. And then this is really beautiful. So Katrina doesn't have much devices, but this chart looks amazing when you have, let's say, multiple mesh nodes. We have users like have like 4 or 5 mesh nodes and have like 25, 30 devices connected. So this chart looks like amazing because you can see each mesh node and information for each mesh node and then each device that is connected to each mesh node. So for example, right here, Katrina, this is Katrina's gateway and this is the mesh node. She only has 2 devices connected to her gateway. She can see the signal strength between the mesh node and the gateway, and then devices and the gateway as well. And then she can just hover over right here. Oops, it's not showing. So okay, oh no, sorry, just on the gateway and mesh nodes, and you can see all the different information about the gateway right away, or the mesh node. And I guess I just missed one thing in the back. Oh, by the way, this feature is disabling. So for example, you have a customer, a lot of times we have situations where ISPs would come there like, okay, we need something where we can stop our users from using the Mercku device if they haven't paid us or something, right? So this is that feature. So you can pretty much come here and disable Katrina's network if she's not paying on time or something, right? And then once she does, you can just come back and enable it, right? And if you go back, this is actually 3 things I missed. So this is like a batch firmware upgrade, right? So if you have like a whole network, you want to do usually we do automatic firmware upgrades. So there's no effort required from you or the user. But in case you have custom firmware, you want to do a manual upgrade to some devices, that's totally fine too. You can just come here, you can do like a full batch upgrade, select all devices or just select one device, click upgrade, or even reboot or refresh. Like you can just do it from right here for all your customers, right? And then you can like search them by status of online, offline, the models, geographical locations, gateway SN numbers, name, firmware versions, all those things. Okay, going back to Katrina's profile. So all this we saw is the monitoring part until now, Sarah. The one we're gonna look at right now is the management stuff.
Cool.
And configuration. So starting with basic Wi-Fi settings, you can change SSIDs, passwords, encryption types, password, channels, channel width, smart connect, all those things right here. You can set up guest Wi-Fi from here as well. You can select all the settings. Then you can go in like more configuration and other settings. You can like select router bridge more. So this is pretty much. So let's say if an ISP is using NOC, all they have to do is ship the device to their customer, and all their customer has to do is like hook it up, power it up, and just connect it with the WAN port. That's it. And then ISP can like set it up, do everything from right here. They don't need the customer to do anything, right? That's the only thing. So they don't have to send their technician in, just mail the router to the customer. Only two things: customer has to put it in an open place, plug it in the wall for power, and connect it with the WAN port, and that's it. And then you can do this whole setup for the network from right here. And this is the DHCP settings. You can run speed test from right here. Let's see. So you can also see the history of speed test Katrina ran. What was the speed, delay, packet loss, jitter, all those things are available. These are more advanced settings. So all the settings are available here as well: port forwarding, remote access, VPN, UPnP, blacklisting, syslogs, network diagnosis. If you go here, the ISPs can run ping, traceroute, NSLOOKUP, all these tests right here. And then here they can get system logs, which are on, right? And then this is like, they can also have a syslog push. So they can put an email address right here, and the syslogs can be pushed to, like, for example, the head of customer service or something, the manager or the owner, to like just kind of check how the network's performing overall. And then basic like time zone, country settings that were available in the app as well. And then this is the message center. So this is always shows you the status of the queries you ran, the time, date, and the status, if they were a success or not. If they were not a success, you click on view and you see, okay, what happened there, right? So for this one, the upgrade failed on this device, right? And well, Katrina ran a lot of queries. Okay, and this is the last. So this one all was management part. Now this is the last part we're going to look at. This is for proactive troubleshooting. So proactive troubleshooting is basically, oh, I think they just did a recent update on this one. Severity, oh, alarm type, oh, okay, wait. It looks like Katrina doesn't have any issues with her network. So let's go here. Okay, so this is the alert center. This is based on machine learning, AI. It becomes intelligent over time. So what it does is basically tracks proactively an issue that's occurring on a user's network before anyone else realizes. So you can, actually, this is all new. I think they just added like yesterday or something. So basically you can see, select the different levels of severity when you want to be reported. And then you can select what's happening, like if you want to be reported for whole issues. But these are the issues the system will automatically detect, like high CPU usage, high memory footprint, too many stations, low mesh signal, station drop, node drop, whole network, city, and then you can break it down by city as well, right? And then not ignored, if you ignored any query or if any warning is closed, and then not ignored is right here. So for example, okay, RSSI of station, this is too low. And you can just quickly click on the SN number, you come to this customer's profile, and you click on their network and you see, wow, okay, she has a lot of weak signal strength on a lot of devices, right? So that's what the system automatically detected and reported. Now, if the customer calls you, for example, right, this is a minor issue, but this is just an example. But if the customer calls you and tells you, okay, this device is not working properly, I have this issue, you know what's happening and you can tell them quickly, this is going wrong. Or even better, if you want to be proactive, you can just let your customer know yourself. If you see, okay, stations are frequently dropping, and if they are like far away or something, for example, these ones, right, they might be dropping a lot, right? And you know the reason. So if the customer calls, you can tell them, or maybe call yourself and let them know, or email them, right? So this is the NOC, and this is available for ISPs, MSPs, WISPs, they want to use it. And pretty much this is all that's available right now, but we are continuing to add more and more features as we move forward. We are frequently updating it, like after every few weeks, based on a lot of ISP feedback and demands as well, plus as well as our own research and analysis. Okay.
Cool. Now, for adding the devices, you just basically add the serial number from it, right?
That's it. Yeah.
And did you guys take into consideration maybe potentially using a scanner of sorts to be able to scan these into the system?
I think Katrina uses that, right? Do you use the scanner?
Yeah, we have our own version of a scanner to add them into specific mocks.
Okay.
Mhm.
If like there's the barcode on here, most cell phones can read the barcode, right?
Yeah.
I will call you back. Or like on Amazon, you can buy these little $60 hand scanners that are Bluetooth, right? You just beep, add it to the system, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that answers most of my questions. I mean, like we've got the knock covered, we've got this, the feature sets. I guess the next thing to do is to play with one of those W6 units.
Yeah. Oh, Jay
The
has the
M6.
M6 and I have the M6.
Oh, it has stealth
Yeah.
mode. They both have stealth mode.
I know.
Cool.
Yeah. Right here.
It looks like a PlayStation.
It does. It really does.
Looks like a Ferrari, some people say, especially in the red one.
Yeah, the red one's pretty sexy looking.
Yeah. So yeah,
Black
so
one's
this is
cool
our-
because it's like just you can put it on a shelf and it's very posh, very bougie. It'll blend in nicely because it's like black, but the red one's like flashy. It's like, that looks pretty cool. That go with
Yeah.
the gaming consoles and things, right?
Exactly. Yeah. We also
Okay.
have white as well, but that one looks like just straight up like the PS5.
And white is so boring. And I mean, like, if you've got white, if you're anything like me, I can't wear white clothing because like I'll literally avoid touching anything and all of a sudden I'll have a smear down me. It's the same thing with white plastics. It's just like somebody will bump into it and now there'll be like this puce, hideous stain on the side of it for whatever reason. Like that's why electronics should never be made white.
Yeah, we definitely see that because black honestly is the most popular.
Well, it's because it hides and it blends. Like my speakers are black, my cell phone's black, my laptop's black, everything's just black. It just blends in, right?
Yeah.
And then the
Yeah, and
flashy
it-
colors, they're very specific situations, like when you're showing off all your game consoles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. And then black never gets pale too, right?
Yeah.
It's always black.
It's like black socks. I mean, like
Yeah.
who wears white socks anymore? Especially the ones that have those colored bands on top. Ugh,
Black socks just never get dirty.
Yeah.
that's the other thing. Unless you step in mud, which happens to me quite a lot. So
Oh,
sometimes worse things than mud, like processed vegetation from cows.
oh, yeah. Process. I love that.
Yes. So yeah, this is pretty cool. Very, very exciting. And I guess the next thing I should do is I should probably get access to the, I'm gonna have to get on the ISP portal at some time so I can play around with it.
For sure, yeah. I can actually, yeah, we can set you up with a trial account if you want, and you can just like kind of take your time and play around with it. Add maybe those M2s and that,
Yeah.
right? And you can just like do whatever you want to do with them.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And the thing is too, if like on the knock portal as well, like as you know, I have 3 different kinds of systems on the network.
Mhm.
It only requires 1 customer profile, so you can see all of them, like all the separate networks essentially that are tied to this 1 customer, which is really good.
You know, I was just thinking for a second, I'm trying to look around and I don't think the only piece of electronic equipment that I've got that's not like even my power supply here. Look, my power supply is black. My lights are black. Everything's just, this is silver, but that's god awful. Who makes silver stuff?
Yeah.
Silver's worse. It's just like,
So,
I think white was before, so like I think maybe like 10 years ago or something, we had like white monitors, white CPUs, white speakers, keyboards, everything, right? But then people quickly realized, okay, this keyboard when I bought was like pure white, and now it's like all brown or like so you have all the
That's true.
fingerprint like stains. I don't know what if you were eating something. So yeah, I remember having that. Yeah, it's definitely not good.
I remember the gray keyboards too.
Yeah,
gray.
yeah, that's even. I don't like that.
It was, yeah, they
It
were,
just seems bad though.
yeah,
Yeah, that's always my concern. I mean, like, oh God, I can embarrass anybody though with my black light because I can go over to somebody's house and be like, hey, let's look at your keyboard with
no.
black light. It's just like, ooh,
oh no.
well there. But yeah, it's just like, yeah, I don't know. I'm hung up on that because it's just like, oh God, I just remember back in the day when like everything was white because it's like white is so clean because you can see
Yeah.
every little
Yeah.
speck on it. It's just like, Yeah, that's why we don't want it.
Yeah, exactly. It's so
That's
clean
right.
until it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like these guys here, these have been beating around the shop for quite some time. I mean, like I've got stacks of things to review underneath here, like these guys here. And I mean, like, so everything is in this little corner here under my desk. And it's just like, these guys have had little smudges on them and things like that. I'll wipe it off and it's just, they look great. But if you've got something else like these guys here, it's like, these already have some smudges on them and that. It's just like, oh, I'm gonna have to like, how am I gonna get that off? It's just like,
Yeah.
oh.
I had a white Hytron like before, and I think I've had it for so long, the fan kind of like turned the ventilation area like a nasty color too. So gross.
Yeah, like it'll go like yellow or beige.
Yeah.
And depending on the plastics that they use, if they're not UV stabilized, they get this horrible yellow tone. And
Yeah.
acetone or peroxide, 100% peroxide will fix that, or a UV light. But
Oh, okay. Good to know.
I'm going to do a video on that. One of my friends restores toys, and he told me about that. All sorts of tricks for restoring whites back to white, but you don't have to do that with
Nice.
this.
Mhm.
Isn't peroxide that thing you use for like to gargle or something, like a mouthwash?
No, this is actually more dangerous. This is like 99% peroxide, not 3%. So you
Oh,
put
okay,
that in
that's
a tub, and then you take whatever it is that you need to restore to white in it, and you put it in, and then you put a UV light over top of it and seal it in.
Oh.
And in like 7 hours, it will restore it back to like bright white.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
wow. That's good to know.
And nothing
So was
about
it-
that is safe.
Yeah. I know when I get like peroxide, on my fingers or something, my finger, like the skin will immediately just start turning white. It's really bad.
Yeah, it bubbles and dries and does all sorts
Yeah.
of cool stuff.
Wow.
And rinsing your mouth with it every now and again isn't a terrible thing, but you're not supposed to drink it.
Yep.
Yeah, it just because it's got like 3 oxygens doesn't make it better than water.
A lot of oxygen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or is it
Right.
H3O? Sorry, 3 hydrogens. Because
And one
H2O is,
oxygen.
yeah, 2 hydrogen, 1 oxygen atom.
Yeah.
H2O. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
well,
it turns into water
Two
after,
oxygen.
right? After the UV? Is that how it works?
I don't know if the UV breaks, because UV will actually break down atomic structure. So it's just what makes it so dangerous when you expose yourself to it.
Yeah.
It'll also damage DNA, which is because the sun actually does produce ionizing radiation, which is really funny because those people that are afraid of things like this, they're like, oh, now the Wi-Fi is going to give me a brain tumor. And it's just like, okay, so you're afraid of the reduced energy levels of these. Well, they're not properly tested. It's like, well, excuse me, but MIT, the Mayo Clinic, and all those different entities that are well-respected medical entities and scientific entities have deemed it safe at these levels. And you're not afraid of the sun or a
What a
light bulb.
planning beds.
Yeah.
It's so funny because, like, yeah, the sun actually does produce ionizing
Yeah.
radiation, and most of it is, of course, depleted due to our atmosphere. And this is non-ionizing radiation. But I digress. This is pretty cool. So I'm gonna pause for a second. I'm gonna do the outro, and then I'll stop the recording, and then whatever. All right. Awkward silence. Oh, thumbnail. So don't forget, guys, to like and subscribe and comment below if you guys enjoyed the video. And this is a really cool product that we've got here from Mercku. Very, very exciting mesh products, and very, very sexy internally. Of course, if you watch the teardown video, you can see all the wonderful stuff for that. So don't forget to like and subscribe, join the Patreon if you want. You can jump on Twitter, you can jump on Facebook, whatever. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. And thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you
Anytime.
for inviting us. Thanks a lot.